This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from August 25th to August 27th of 2023. Hi, I'm Johan Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series where every Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. And listen, a lot of you have been requesting for us to cover Tenor Tessman that plays in the second division of Italy. There's only so many players that we can cover here at the channel, and we're not going to be diving into the second division of Italy. Tenor Tessman needs to get a move to a better league, and we'll dive into him a lot more. But of course, if he gets called into the US men's national team, then I'll find a way to watch the Italian second division on some sketchy website that might give my computer AIDS. No, seriously, I don't know where to watch the second division of Italy. Lastly, keep in mind, this week is roster week for the US men's national team. Berhalter will release his first roster since he returned for the September friendlies against Oman and Uzbekistan. It's expected to drop on Wednesday, and we'll do a live stream for that as well. Okay, so drop a like if you want to. Let's play the intro. Let's go to the updates. Okay, so let's start with the top 5 leagues. So the first one will be the English Premier League. So why don't we go with Matt Turner and Ethan Horvath that play for Nottingham Forest. On Saturday, Matt Turner started and played the full 90 minutes for Nottingham Forest during their 3-2 loss to Manchester United in the English Premier League. As for Ethan Horvath, he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for obvious reasons. He's the backup of Matt Turner. So if Turner played the full 90, Horvath stayed on the bench. For Matt Turner specifically, he had a good game. The first goal he conceded, he made a great save before United ended up scoring. The second goal, there wasn't really much he could have done. And the third goal was a penalty kick, along with making great saves. So overall, Matt Turner had a very good game once again in the English Premier League. The next player I would talk about would be Chris Richards from Crystal Palace, but he got 0 minutes once again this weekend. In terms of minutes, unless Anderson or Mark Guehi get injured, I don't think Richards is going to get many minutes this season besides cup games and League Cup games, unless he gets a loan to the Bundesliga. But I don't think Crystal Palace wants to let Chris Richards go. Because again, in the Premier League, you also need depth, and he's a great option off the bench, or backup in case one of the players gets suspended or injured. Next up would have been Austin Trusty from Sheffield United, but he also, the other American center back, Austin Trusty, also stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes this weekend. So let's skip him and go to A-Rob and Tim Ream from Fulham. On Saturday, A-Rob started and went the full 90 minutes for Fulham during their 2-2 draw with Arsenal. As for Tim Ream, he was suspended due to the red card he got on the previous weekend. Next up is Tyler Adams from Bournemouth. So Tyler is already training with his new club. The transfer has been completed. However, he is still recovering from injury and the return date is still unclear. The speculation is that he will be back at best late September. Lastly, I want to talk about Luca Coleosho. So he's provisionally cap-tied for Italy, but he's American and he's eligible to play for the US men's national team. So let's update on him because he actually played. If you don't know, Luca Coleosho is actually a winger, and here it is. Luca Coleosho is a player that the United States should absolutely be recruiting at this time, even though, as I said, he's provisionally cap-tied to Italy. He's starting in the English Premier League at age 19, which is simply not easy. But I will say one thing. I watched this game this weekend for Burnley, and I don't really think he is at the Premier League standard and level at this time, which makes me believe Burnley's probably playing Luca Coleosho right now based on his potential, which is the same reason why the United States should be recruiting him. It's been only 2 games that he played this season, so I expect him to improve as the season goes on. Otherwise, his minutes will tank. Regardless, that is 100% a player that the United States should be recruiting, or in this case, Greg Berhalter. Okay, time to leave England and go to a country that has better food, and that is Italy. Let's talk about the Italian Serie A, and why don't we start with Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa from Milan. On Saturday, Pulisic started and went the full 90 minutes for Milan during their 4-1 win over Torino in the Serie A. Again, another good performance by Christian Pulisic. He scored Milan's first goal of the match by starting the play and setting up Loftus-Cheek to assist Pulisic himself. It was a 4-1 victory, but the first goal was what opened the gates. As for Yunus Musa, he finally made his Milan debut. Yunus Musah was subbed in the 66th minute when Milan had a 3-0 lead. He showed flashes of talent throughout this short amount of minutes that he was in this match. He showed that he has a ton of upside. But as I said before when this transfer happened, I don't expect Musah to make an immediate impact for Milan just like Christian Pulisic did. It'll take time. His first big challenge will be to become a starter and become a consistently good performer at the club level. But overall, this was a very encouraging start for Yunus Musah. As for Pulisic having an immediate impact for Milan, it shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone. The problem has always been Chelsea. And to the Chelsea fans that were trying, mostly English Chelsea fans that were trying to downplay the level of the Serie A had 2 teams in the Champions League semifinals last season, 2 teams in the Europa League semifinals last season. I do agree that the Premier League is a higher level than the Italian Serie A. I just don't think the gap is as big as their, I guess, English marketing is trying to portray it. But sure, it is true, the gap is existent. But the truth is, Chelsea was the problem. Chelsea kind of is a problem, just not my problem or Pulisic's problem, but it's a problem right now. But that's a problem for Chelsea fans. Still in Italy, we have Weston McKennie and Timothy Weah from Juventus. On Sunday, Weah started and played 82 minutes for Juventus during their 1-1 draw with Bologna in the Serie A. Weston McKennie came in for Timothy Weah at the 82nd minute, and yes, both of them played as right wingbacks. So listen, this is the second weekend in a row that I watch Juventus, and I might kind of stop watching them and just try to look up highlights and skim through games, because what Allegri does to this team is just pure soccer terrorism. It's unwatchable, and I do not recommend you watching Juventus. And if you are a Juve fan, I feel so bad for you right now. And since I watched it this weekend, drop a like because you should feel bad for me. Okay, let's leave Italy and now go to Germany to talk about the Bundesliga. And why don't we start with Gio Reyna, which the update is he's back in training, but he's still not fully fit to play. So let's skip Gio. Let's go to Brenden Aaronson and Pifak from Union Berlin. On Saturday, Brenden Aaronson started and played 21 minutes for Union Berlin during their 4-1 win over Darmstadt, something like that, some team from the Bundesliga. And I'll tell you one thing right away, because what matters is what I talk about Brenden Aaronson. And he got sent off. He got a red card. Aaronson was sent off with a second yellow followed by a red early in the game. At the time of his red, Union Berlin was up 1-0 and they went on to win 4-1. I would say the 2 yellows were a bit harsh from the ref, but at the same time, I do blame Brenden. Like, don't taunt the ref for no reason. And when you're on a yellow, you got to be extra careful on those 50-50 balls. Again, they were harsh yellows, but Brenden Aaronson has to be a bit smarter. As for Pifak, he came off the bench at the 64th minute for Union Berlin. Still in Germany, we have Paxton Aaronson, the brother of Brenden Aaronson that plays for Eintracht Frankfurt. I mean, Paxton plays for Eintracht Frankfurt. You already know that Brenden plays for Union Berlin. On Sunday, Paxton started off on the bench and came in the 83rd minute for Mario Götze to help Eintracht Frankfurt pull a late 1-1 draw with Mainz in the Bundesliga. So let's just say that Paxton had a better weekend than Brenden, even though Union Berlin still won without Brenden, so I guess he did alright, despite the red card. Now, John Brooks from Hoffenheim. On Saturday, John Brooks started and played 53 minutes for Hoffenheim during their 3-2 win over Heidenheim in the Bundesliga. So some people were saying that John Brooks got injured, but there are no reported injuries at the time of this recording. And I didn't watch the game, so I can't give you the most accurate statement. But again, there are no reported injuries at the time of this recording. Next up is Joe Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach. That one I did learn how to pronounce because you guys pressured me. On Saturday, Joe Scally started and played the full 90 minutes for Gladbach during their 3-0 loss to Leverkusen. This is another game that I was not able to watch over the weekend because there was too many other games to watch. But based off media reports and his stats, it looks like Joe Scally did not have a good performance. But again, take that with a grain of salt because I didn't actually watch the game. That's not my actual opinion. And it does seem like he also played as a left wing back. Lastly, in Germany, we have Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg, and he stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes this weekend, so there's no update on that. Let's go to Spain. And for Spain, we're going to talk about Luca de la Torre from Celta de Vigo. And on Saturday, Luca de la Torre started and played 80 minutes for Celta de Vigo during their 1-0 loss to Real Madrid in La Liga. So I have some good news and some bad news. Good news was Luka played centrally this match against the midfield with Jude Bellingham, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Valverde. And while he was on the pitch, the match was still 0-0. Bellingham scored literally 1 minute after Luka de la Torre was subbed off. Now the bad news was that Luka got subbed off with an apparent hamstring injury, and he could miss some time, which also means he might be out of the US men's national team camp. But that's enough for Spain. Now let's go to France because we have a transfer update for you. And that is Floating Balogun is going to Monaco. Now confirmed. I mean, it's been confirmed for a few days, but the update's on Monday, so we just waited. Monaco will pay Arsenal 40 million euros, which is a lot of money for a French team not named PSG. And then Balogun will be heading back to the league where he scored 21 goals last season. But now he'll be playing for a much better team. But again, he'll have to fight for those minutes. Monaco is a very good team, and that is a good thing. And to be fair, they could even challenge for the league title. I mean, PSG are still the clear favorites, but this is probably the weakest PSG we've seen from the past few seasons. And this Monaco team is looking strong. We'll see. We'll see. Something could happen. We've seen Lille win Liga, so it could happen. We'll see. They're also adding Balogun that scored 20 goals last season. It's more of a wait and see. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you think Monaco could actually win Liga, or it's really just not that realistic right now? All right, we're done with the top 5 leagues in Europe, or actually the top 5 leagues in the world. Now let's go to the non-top 5 leagues, but still in Europe. Let's go to the Eredivisie in the Netherlands and talk about the Americans there. And let's start with the boys from PSV, Malik Tillman, Ricardo Pepi, and Serginho Dest. PSV did not play this weekend, but they do have a massive match this Wednesday. They have the second leg of their Champions League qualification playoff match against Rangers. The first match was 2-2 in Scotland, so whoever advances will go to the Champions League group stage. The other two players are Taylor Booth and Jordi Mihailovic. So Taylor Booth didn't play because he's injured, and Jordi Mihailovic didn't play because his team, AZ Alkmaar, didn't have any games. Now it's time for us to go back to England and talk about the EFL Championship players, the Americans that play in the second division of England. And we'll start with Josh Sargent from Norwich. On Saturday, Sargent started and played just 14 minutes for Norwich during their 4-0 win over Huddersfield. So Sargent scored and got injured at the same play. He landed awkwardly on his ankle after the goalkeeper pushed him. It was a dirty play. In my opinion, it was dirty. I understand the goalie was also trying to go for the ball, but you do need to understand that sometimes you're putting, the guy that has the same job as you as a soccer player, maybe not at the same team, but you both have the same job, that you're putting his fitness at risk, or health in this case. Sargent had a nasty ankle injury. But the good thing about this is I guess it's better than injuring your knee. Knee injuries tend to be far worse. However, Sargent did have an ankle injury back in 2022. And when he had that injury, he was out for around 90 days. What sucks about Josh Sargent's injury is that he was off to a hot start with 3 goals in 4 matches, and he was probably on track to hit 20 goals or more this season in the championship. But now with this injury, we don't know for how long he'll be out for, and Daniel Farke, his coach, said the injury looked serious, which is not good. He was also seen with a boot after the game, so at least that leads us to believe that it might have not been a fracture. Next up is Haji Wright, also in the EFL Championship from Coventry. On Saturday, Haji Wright started off on the bench and came in at the 70th minute for Coventry during their 0-0 draw with Sunderland. We were going to stay at the UK to talk about a player in Scotland, that was Cameron Carter-Vickers, but he is still injured, so there's no updates there. So let's quickly go to Belgium, then we can go to South America for the last update. In Belgium, we'll start with Gaga Slonina from Eupen. Did I say it right? On Saturday, Slonina started and played the full 90 minutes for Eupen during their 3-1 win over Leuven in Belgium. Next up would have been Mark McKenzie, but Genk's game over the weekend got postponed. They were going to face Club Brugge, so Mark McKenzie didn't play. So we're going to skip Mark McKenzie and we're going to go to Brian Reynolds from Westerlo. On Saturday, Brian Reynolds started and played the full 90 minutes for Westerlo during their 3-2 loss to Michelin. Oh, one quick update, Eric Palmer-Brown did make his debut in the Greek League. And maybe we're going to start to cover Palmer-Brown here and there because he has been in and out of the US men's national team, but I just wanted to give that information out. I also don't know where to watch the Greek League. So to finalize, we're going to leave Europe and talk about Johnny Cardoso in Brazil. And he didn't play over the weekend. He didn't play for Internacional. He was rested. He stayed on the bench because Internacional has the Libertadores quarterfinals on Wednesday, which is the Champions League of South America. and they're pretty much through to the semifinals. So he was rested, and I think he will be in the US men's national team September roster. Right, everyone, that's all for today. So if you made it this far, don't forget to drop a like and a comment to rig the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe if you want to. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.